Hello, my name is Trydar. Welcome to part 2 of the Parthenon tutorial. We're going to pick up right where we left off. So we finished with this phase over here, establishing our foundation and interior building last time. So let us begin over here on the exterior and work our way towards the inside. So as you can tell, we are going up 2 additional blocks for the same pattern on all of the columns, all the way around the perimeter of the building. And these interior columns here out front and out back as well. So with that established, let's take a look here at the lattice work. Now we are to an important point in the lattice work. From down here to up here, this is a module. You'll notice this over here, this is a copy around this center line over here of that there, and so on and so forth over here as well, meaning that once you do one of these, you will know all the patterns for the other ones, because as we go up from here to here again, this is going to copy and stack on each other, going up until we get up to the ceiling. So just be aware of that. Of course, it truncates a little over here in the middle because we hit the wall. And let's start at the door. So we're building our door out according to this pattern here. And as you can see, I've chosen to use gold and obsidian and red nether brick. If you want to use wood or something else over here, you are, of course, free to do that. And the door itself also has a repeating pattern, I believe. From here to here is going to be a module. So from here all the way to up here in the next couple of phases will be the same repeating pattern for the door. It's the same on both sides, by the way. Add some torches over here if you want to. And on the inside and the outside of the doorway, we're adding in the basalt, where I have used the bedrock and the diorite details for the door archway. And over here, we are now at, we're at this 2-block level, so we need to start adding in some detail on the exterior of the large ashlar blocks on the outside, sort of incise them. So we are doing that. The blocks in general are always going to be 2 by 5. There's a 2 by 5 and a 2, and well, this hits the wall, but it would be a 5 over here as well. And when we turn the corner out here, we're starting with this on the outside. We've got a 2 by 5 and a 2 by 5, which you should have already built from the last phase, and then you add in a layer of diorite in between that, and not necessarily behind here, but where it's visible. And at the front, we then want to take the middle of the blocks right here. You see the middle? We just draw up, and that is going to be our separation line for this over here. So if I remove some of this and add in a little red wool to show you, over here you can see the pattern that we are going for with this, and we are stacking the blocks. The two 2 by 5 blocks on top of each other, but all the way along the wall, like so. And you're putting, of course, the new blocks, the new layer of blocks, directly on top of the other ones, but in the middle of the previous midpoint down here, as I've remarked. And you want to do this all the way down the temple, except I think in the middle here, we are going to have a bit of a different one because they will collide together at the ends. So the middle block right here will be 7 blocks wide there, and this will be the midpoint line of the temple. By the way, it occurs just directly behind the altar here, right at this level here in front of that column. Through there, and from this point right here all the way to the back, you're building a copy on the outside of what you have done up here. You're just doing that again all the way to the back along here, and the porch and everything, and the doorway and the door archways are the same. It's only the interior space that's going to be different. So with all that explained, let's take a look at the interior space. So, the blocks for the interior are at a slightly different level than the exterior, but they have the same pattern. So as you can see, we had the 2x5 blocks here, and we're of course using that again, except they're only 1 block tall at this level, but they are going to be 2x5 going forward like so, as you go all the way down the wall like that, and remembering to put a layer of diorite in behind the blocks there, and you can of course leave this area hollow if you're trying to save materials. And you can probably leave some of the diorite hollow if you want to save even more materials on the build. But as we go back through the room here, you want to have the block pattern go exactly the same. But at some point, you will hit the wall back here, and then you just bend the block around. So you will have another 2x5 that will start going in this direction, and so on and so forth until it gets all the way to the middle, which is going to be at point here, which is that point there, which is the center line of the Parthenon. And remember, everything that you build on this side, it's symmetrical. Build it exactly the same, just a mirror image on the other side here. So with that explained, now that you have a good handle on the wall pattern, you're just extending all of the fluted columns up of diorite, the 3x3. With that pattern there, you're going up 2 additional blocks on those, and we're going to be doing that for quite a few phases on the interior around here as well. And don't forget to do the corners out the same also. We are also finishing off the main altar, or the plinth for the statue here. And you're doing that with just a base of cobble and then 3 layers of diorite and then an edging of upside down stone brick stairs all the way around the base here, and then just fill it in with cobble in the middle there. But of course, this is optional. If you don't have a statue or anything to put there, you can leave this out and just make this your storage room or something. But speaking of storage rooms, I need to go back here and take a look at the treasury room. So back here, as you can see, you are doing the same pattern that we did in the large room. When you're starting with a 2 here, and then 1 there, and then a 5, and a 1, and then here, and then you will hit the wall, then turn, do another 5, another 5, and so on and so forth. Keep doing those until you hit the corner here, and then just bend that block and go on over this way until you hit the center line there. So I think all that is fairly clear. Let me show you this from the top down on this side over here. Everything you should be looking at doing at this level. You're just building it out on top of what you previously did. The only tricky bit is getting the pattern right for the incised blocks on the exterior to give your walls a bit more texture. The reasons that's only there for decoration purposes. And I believe that will cover this phase here. So let us move on to the next phase. It's going to be rather simple. We're going up, of course, 2 additional blocks again, and all the columns all the way around the perimeter. You are going up 2 additional blocks with the same patterns that you have been doing before. And this ring of, this line of 6 columns here, of course, you're doing the same, except in the middle, you are reproducing the lattice pattern again. Remember, I talked about how this from here to here is a module, and from here all the way up to somewhere up here, you're going to be building another one of those modules, just stacking them on top of each other to make the lattice work as you see done here with the cobblestone fences and the blocks of cobblestone and the stone brick stairs arranged out like so. All right, so let's take a look at the door. So here's the pattern for the door here. I've got a, three block gap here. If I will stop knocking out the red blocks. But you get the idea with that. You're continuing up, of course, the doorway like so on the outside and the inside. On the last phase, you started building the this part down here and there. So you are, of course, doing out the block pattern again, according to the same design that I laboriously explained previously with the 2:5 ratio with all the blocks. And here's a view of how they just collide into the corner like that there. And over here on the outside as well. And you are beginning your third course of blocks going along here with the 2x5 blocks along there, and you're going 5 and a 1, a 5 and a 1, and a 5 and a 1, and so on and so forth until we get all the way to the midpoint right here. And these block positions here should be copies of where these blocks are down here that you have previously built. So you want to just make sure that they're stacked right on top of each other. And we now can see that this is going to be a pattern. So pretty much from this point here to this point here is going to be another module. So from this point up here, which is going to be the same as this point here, from here on upwards, you're going to be producing the same pattern in alternating courses of blocks that you have done previously. So you want to do that all the way along the wall and replicate the this end of the building the same as you have done for the front, the door and everything. All right, so let's take a look at the inside now. It's pretty much the same deal for the interior blocks here, except they're just they're one block different from the blocks on the outside. But as you can see, you're doing your same 2:5 pattern with the blocks on the diorite behind it. The diorite is put behind these, so the blocks will show up a little bit better. They won't be just straight cobblestone. And as you can see, they are the patterns here. Let me just give you a good look at that. Going all the way back here, and of course you're bending into the corners. Just bend the blocks when you get to the corner and keep going. And then you get to the midpoint somewhere around here, and then of course mirror everything out again. And I believe you can tell that the columns on the interior here are the same design as you have been building, and this little corner thing back here as well. And of course we finished with the plinth in the last phase. So that is all there is to talk about at this. Well, wait a minute. There's this doorway here, I neglected to mention. So we have been kind of building up this doorway since we started. But we are now finishing this, and we are putting over a lintel of upside down stone brick stairs, as you see done here. And remember, use basalt, where I have used the bedrock here. And you want to build that out according to these patterns here. There's just a 3x5 doorway, and it looks the same on the other side. You can add some torches back here if you want to. And on top of this, maybe in another block or two, we're going to start putting in copies of the lattice work over the doorway here in the middle. All right. I believe that covers that phase with a sufficient amount of explanation. So next phase here, of course, 2 blocks. Again, the columns on the outside, same pattern all the way around the perimeter. These columns here, same deal. Over here, the lattice work again. We can now see 2 complete phases of lattice. This here, as I've said, that is a module. And so this here, again, is another little module. So we've got 4 modules here, another 4 here. And over the doorway, at this point, we will start building it exactly the same as we have it over here. And there will be latticework modules on top of this doorway. And of course, the blocks are continuing up with the wall. You should have this pattern well established by now. On the porch, and of course the exterior here. I'll just point this out one last time for emphasis. Like so. As in general, how you are building the brickwork all the way along to the back of the building, all the way along the wall here. Behind the columns, and of course you're building the back porch the same as the front porch up here. So let's take a look at the doorway. Fairly simple. I don't believe this requires any explanation. Just build it the same on both sides. Or as I've said, you can also, there's plenty of space inside this wall here for you to install a large piston door if you have a design for that. I don't. So I have just chosen a large static doorway. On the inside, you are repeating the patterns for the blocks like you did down here. This block is going to be in the same positions as those blocks there. You just want to stack them on top of each other all the way around the room, just on the third course, just like you did for the first one. This is the first course, this is the second course, and the third course. And of course, the blocks themselves, every time you lay a block, it's called a course, by the way. And if you lay the blocks on top of that, that's the second course, and so on and so forth. And of course, the columns in here are done according to the same design. You're just extending those up 2 more blocks for at least another couple of phases until we put a small lintel and entablature system on top of those, and build these things out back here as well. All right, so now that I have described a lot of those patterns, we can make up a bit of time with the repeating elements. So this phase here, focusing in on these 2 blocks, you're building up your columns again. These columns here, the same thing. The lattice work, you now know how to build the modules, so you are building out your third set of stacked modules of the lattice work. Up here, you are building out the exterior of the blocks. We are now to a point where this first course here is going to be the same as this third course here for that. And on the exterior here, you are building out your fourth course of stone bricks all the way along the walls here. So I don't think that requires any more explanation on that. I believe I beat that quite to death. And of course, on the interior here, you are building out your fourth course as well, the lower part of that. And the columns also. And the doorway. Okay. And let me just give you a quick view over the doorway here. Right, so that was pretty easy because all of that are repeating patterns. They're just stacking on top of each other. It's nothing you haven't already done. So, moving up again, 2 more blocks on all the outside columns. You know the drill with these, and with these, and with the lattice work here. You should now have a third complete module, 1, 2, 3 of those, and 6 total stacked on top of each other. And 2 of them over the doorway here. So back here we have the main doorway built out like so, and the brickwork over here. And on the outside here, you're stacking and repeating all the patterns for these that you have previously done. Nothing new out there or in here, where you are stacking up these patterns again. And you can quite clearly see we now have 2 complete sets of courses repeating on top of each other, like so, all the way around the inside and the back of the room. And of course, these columns in here and everything are going up as you have been doing. All right, so I think it's going to be a couple of phases before we stop getting to the repeating elements. But we are doing, again, 2 more blocks going upwards in that manner there. We're building out more modules of our lattice work. We're stacking more bricks on top of each other over here. And on the outside, you should now have your 5th course of bricks complete. And over here is going to be the main doorway. The pattern for that there. So far we've gone in a 2 and a 3 and a 3 and another 3. I think the top will stop somewhere up here with one more 2 for that. On the interior here, you are stacking up your 5th course of blocks here, wrapping them all the way around the room, repeating all the patterns that you have previously built, with the columns here extending upwards as well, like so. And I have neglected to mention the treasure room for a couple of phases. That's mostly because it has been going the same thing we've been doing with the brickwork back here. We're doing also back here again. I thought that was implicit, but I should point it out. So here's the pattern for those. You're just bending these around the room as you collide with the walls there. And along the back there. Now, if you have a slightly different pattern for the brickwork in here, that's totally fine, because this is just a decorative element. It's not necessary that you get it absolutely exact. And of course, the 4 columns in here have been going up unchanged from the start as well, and the doorway back here is of course the same as it is up there, as is the entire porch. So pause at this face here and give a good top-down view to take stock of where we are at now. These phases are mostly a lot of repetitive work. We've done all the hard work with establishing the base and the initial patterns. So what you've got should look something like this. And if we move on to this next phase over here, we are doing all of that all over again. So for these 2 blocks here, columns all around the perimeter are the same. These ones here as well. Stacking up still more modules of lattice work. There are 8 modules in one panel here. Another 8 over here and 4 over the doorway. If we go in the doorway here, we can see the pattern for this going up like so. And we have the 5th course of bricks done out here for that. And I think we are up to 6 courses on the outside here. And the same for the inside, almost. Along there, no surprises on these, so I'm not really going into them in much detail. And of course, the columns in here are going up at exactly the same patterns as well. And the walls and the columns back here, you should have a lock on how to do that back here also. All right. How long before we get to a point where, like a couple of more phases? So these are quite tall. So for this 2 block section here, you are doing the same on all of those columns. More modules of lattice work. More courses of bricks for the walls here on the inside of the porch and along the exterior of the building here. And along the interior of the walls here, and all these columns the same. The doorway the same. And the treasury room back here the same. So I think we can make up a little bit of time now, because this 2 block section here, this is just a repeat of everything I just said for that section there. So I will just give you a good look at this. We go along here, we've got what, 10 sections of modules stacked up for the lattice work. The doorway here, the bricks along here. How many courses are we up to now? 7. The interior columns along in here. And the treasury room back here. So as I've said, you're just stacking up the repeating patterns. Looks like we're finally getting to a point where that's not going to be always true. So for these columns, of course, 2 blocks farther up, same patterns. These the same, more modules of these, and the exterior brickworks here. We're up to what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 courses. For the porch, which means we should be up to about what, 8 on the exterior wall along here. And the interior also. We now finally have a difference because we have finished these interior columns, or rather we will be when we put on the Doric style capitals. And you are doing that with 3 upside down stone brick stairs. Cobblestone stairs. 3 here, 3 more here. Just leave a little gap here. 3 more on that side, and then on top of that, you just want to be putting a 5 by 5 thing of cobblestone on top of that, and do that for every single column inside this room. And not for this thing back here though. Just keep extending this thing up. It's just a little corner back here. And on top of this, in the next phase, we will start putting on a little more detail on top of that. No changes back here. The columns and the wall textures are going up in their same repeating patterns as we have been building for the last couple of phases. All right, I think we can now move on to this phase over here. So these columns, it looks like it's for this phase and one more phase for 2 additional blocks. So if at this point you want to go ahead and add 2 more blocks to the top of that, you can. And over here we see more lattice work. I'm losing count of how many modules that is. Looks like we've got 12, a dozen modules stacked up for the lattice work. A view of the wall patterns out here. And how many blocks are we up to? What, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 courses. We are just starting to build the 9th course of blocks stretching along the wall here. And of course, along the interior of the wall there. And it looks like we finally have some changes at the doorway here. So we were at this level on the last one, but now at this level here, we are finishing the doorway, and we are adding the lintel for the doorway now that we have finished the door posts. And you are doing that with just a simple detail of a diorite across here, and then I believe on top of this we will have a gap, and then some cobble, and then some not obsidian, basalt on top of that. And on top of these columns, you want to lay down a 2 by 3 band of diorite on top of the capitals, the Doric capitals that you did last time, and you want to collide that directly with the corners over here, by the way, so that it looks like that. I'll show you this from the back here and from the front along here. Just a very simple thing to do there. And of course, the front of the doorway over here looks the same as the interior that we have been building. And let's take a view of the treasury room back here. No changes except for the doorway. This is the only change back here. Remember, this doorway back here and the entire back porch is a mirror image of everything that you build at the front. So I think that we can move along to the next phase. So this is we're almost done with these columns. Going up 2 more blocks here, and I believe this is going to be the last of the diorite. So that will finish you laying down all of these diorite column drums that you have been doing since the beginning. So behind those, you know what to do with all the columns. We're extending up the lattice work again with the 13th and 14th modules, and those stacked all the way from the bottom. Here's a view of the doorway. I mean, not the doorway, the wall. Here's a view of the doorway. And as I've said, you are bending the diorite around there for some detail and adding cobblestone behind that. And of course, this is the same on both sides of the doorway. On top, we are now adding in a second row of columns. And we are putting these columns, they're going directly on top of the ones you did below, except they are smaller columns. They're done out according to these patterns here. Like so, and the intercolumnation distance between these is going to be four blocks. Except for when they hit the wall, they'll be like 3 or something. But between themselves, they will be 4 blocks in general. And that holds true all the way for the corner back here as well. So you want to build those out according to that pattern. And of course, the wall back here, you're continuing that as you have been doing. So I'm not going to remark on that too much. The columns in here, I think these might go up an additional block. I'm not sure about that. Looks like they do. We'll take a look at that in the next phase. Let's go ahead and go on to that. So we are now at the point where we can put some capitals on our fluted Doric columns. And we are doing that according to this pattern here, where you are putting in 3 upside down cobblestone stairs, and then a little gap here, 3 more, little corner here, 3 more, and so on. And on top of those, you're putting in 3 more directly in front of those. And then just randomly directionated cobblestone stairs on those sides there. Let me just kind of knock some of this out and give you a side view so you can see how that is done. So as I've said, we've got our upside down cobble stairs here and here. You're doing 2 rows of 3 of each of those. You get this pattern here. And then in the corners of those, where those have over here, just put cobblestone stairs in whichever direction they end up facing for that there to fill in that column. And then you want to do that, of course, for every single column in the building. You want to do the same for these columns back here. Keep building your modules for the lattice work. Behind those, you're doing the walls the same here. And as you can see, the bedrock, which you should be building as basalt, is now coming over the doorway, like so, with 2 block gaps. Down here, it's the same. Up here, it's overhanging an additional block here. And it is doing the same, of course, on the interior of the sanctuary in here. So for the columns in here, we established this level of the base last time. So on top of that, you're just extending everything up 2 additional blocks for all of these columns, and for this thing back here as well, and of course the wall as well. It's going to have the same pattern until we hit the ceiling, which is going to be a little while before we get to that. On the inside here, these columns, as I briefly remarked, are 1 block taller because they are sitting 1 block higher on the floor as opposed to the columns on the outside there. I think you can see that. So you're building out at this level half of the capital that I just described, but if you want to go ahead and build out the rest of the capital for these, feel free to do so. And I think that describes everything that there is to see at that level. So now we are going to go to this level over here. Now it is at this level that we are building out the second major component of the Parthenon itself. The first major component, as I've said, is the colonnade around the building, which we have been laboriously constructing since we started. However, at this level, we are now beginning what is called the entablature. And I believe this level right here with the diorite, I think that's called the architrave. And you will be pleased to know this is going to be possibly one of the easiest things you do. So you want to have a layer of a diorite on top of all of your columns, connecting them together. And this layer is going to be, 5 blocks thick in all directions. And you do need to build it solid because we're going to be seeing it from below here, by the way. And I think once you do, well, wait a minute, I got a little ahead of myself. On top of the capitals on the last phase, you want to build in this here out of cobblestone. But this is going to be what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What should be a 7 by 7 layer on top of all your capitals. And you want to have this this here. I believe this particular element is called the abacus. And it sits on top of your capital. Your capital are these blocks here, and then you build your abacus. And then we are building the architrave for the entablature. I know it's a lot of terminology, but just build the blocks as you see them done here. You don't have to worry about what it's called. And you want to have a band of this all the way around on the top of all of the columns. Let me just get some altitude. So you can see a bird's eye view of what you are doing along here. And you can see that you are also doing this for the porch, which means that you are finally done building modules of latticework because they will be hitting this diorite here. And let's land a bit and take a look at that. Like so. So it looks like the latticework it terminates at the top here. I have no idea how many modules that is. Quite a few. And then just fill in with cobblestone here on top of that. And here's what it looks like on the other side around here. And the corners down here. And as you can tell that the diorite is now also extending over this, by the way. So you are done building out the block pattern that we have been doing all day today from the bottom up. And here is the lintel of the doorway complete. It's just a very simple design for that. And it's, of course, the same on the inside here, except not for this pattern. There's no overhanging diorite here because this is going to be extending upwards for quite a ways longer. As you can see that the columns, these little columns don't have their capitals yet, so that means that we are going up a ways farther until we get to the ceiling. So you want to be building out everything in here. Just extend the walls up and extend the columns, and that's those done. Back here for the treasury, you are putting in your column tops. But remember, these are following what, 1 block lower, higher than the ones on the exterior. So it's going to be probably on top of these. We're going to be putting in the 5 block wide band of diorite on top of those in the next phase for that as well. And the block work in here is going to be going up I think the same height as the other room as well. So from the back going forward here, this should be what you should have built by this level here. All right, with all of that described, I think we have time to fit in one more phase today. So over here, this is going to be quite simple. All the diorite that you built down here, you want to extend that upwards 2 additional blocks. And if you want to, you can either fill in the middle here with cobblestone or just leave it hollow, like so. But you want to go around and fill it in 2 blocks tall all the way around the exterior of the colonnade. However, you can see that we are beginning to put in the lower parts of what is going to be the details for the entablature, which is going to be the metopes and the triglyphs. And these parts here are going to be the lower parts of the triglyphs, which I will talk about in detail more probably in the next episode, I think. So over here, you want to start out with your stone brick slabs. And at the corners here, you want to go 3 and then leave a gap of 3 and then go 3. Leave a gap of 3, 3, leave a gap of 3. And you can see where I'm headed with this. And you want to keep doing that off in that direction. And the other end of this, you should, if you have counted properly, should look like the other side. If it doesn't look like this, then you miscounted. So you want to make sure that you get that right. And the same is going to be true from this corner here all the way back to the other end. You're counting 3 and then leaving a gap of 3 and 3 and a gap of 3, so on and so forth until you get all the way to the back, which again should look like this here. And if you are out by 1 this way or too far over this way, that means you have done this, you have miscounted somewhere along here. So you want to go back and double check that to make sure you have it accurate. Now on the inside here, you want to reproduce those on the inside here, just on the other side of the diorite. So I would recommend that you do the exterior first, make sure you've counted correctly, and then you can come along on the insides here and add it out as you see done here. Now there's a slight change here for the counting because, well, you know, I'm kind of ran out of room. This is Minecraft, so sometimes we can't get things perfectly right. So we have this element here that you want to count out. That's just 2 blocks there, and then 5 blocks, and then you're leaving a gap of 3, and then 3, and then 3, and so on and so forth until you get all the way to the other side, which is going to look exactly the same as that one did over there. And on the interior here, I think if I just give you a good top-down view, in fact, let me just mark all of these out with the red wool here, so you can see that they do indeed line up, which will help you, because after you place these on the exterior, you can use this as a guide to place all the ones on the interior as well. See how they all line up like that? And along here as well. So let me land and take a look at the interior of the porch here. And we can see from the ground up everything we have done for the brickwork on the walls, for the wrapping around of the diorite here. And looks like I missed a block. That should be diorite, like there. And then you are wrapping around your 3-block layer of diorite here, just directly over the doorway. And that is going to be that done for the porch. On the outside here, you should be wrapping. This is mostly a mirror image of this. Now this in the Parthenon should be where the frieze is located, which is it's a large series of carved panels. However, we only have, at this scale, we have 3 blocks of detail, and we can't really do any meaningful carving of that. So for this model, as I've said in the tour, I elected to just have this be a copy of the exterior entablature. However, it's going to be a at this level, or maybe it was at this level here, probably. If you want to, you can place random stairs and half slabs in whatever arrangement you want to, if you want to replicate a frieze. So, what is there to talk about? I think that we have covered about everything there is. As you can see, the interior columns in here are still extending upwards. The wall, I have lost count of how many courses we've gone up to from the bottom here. And we will take a look at the treasury room. You're putting in the layer of diorite that I described, just like you did for the exterior. But you want to have that be a lintel that connects the two walls and the columns here to help structurally tie the room together. Done like so, and just have it interface with the wall and overwrite the pattern of the brickwork. And I think that is all there is to talk about on that phase there. That's going to be all the time we have for today. Next time, we will build the rest of the entablature and talk about the roof and the pediment and the sculptures and the acroterium and all the other good stuff. It's going to be probably a long and detailed phase. This episode was mostly a lot of repetitive building, but on the next one, we will be doing a lot of fine detail work. But I hope you are enjoying building the Parthenon so far, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.